Hello, my name's John, and I'm a storyteller. I love stories. I hope you do as well. And I've got lots of wonderful stories to tell you. I've actually produced a website with all these stories on, www.biblestorycards.co.uk. You can see all my stories. I'm also a bit of a painter, and so I paint pictures to help me tell my stories. I hope you enjoy them. Hello everyone, it's John again with another one of these wonderful stories from the Bible. This is of course another one of the stories that Jesus told. A very powerful story. One that we ought to take notice of because it's got an important lesson to teach us. Perhaps we'll start here. You know the old song that comes on the telly every time the program called The Neighbours is on. Neighbours, everybody needs good neighbours. Well, that's what the story's about, really. So let's have a look at it together, shall we? It's all about being neighbourly, being friendly. It was told by Jesus because a man came to Jesus and said to him, "How do I get into your kingdom? How do I get to heaven?" Well, Jesus told him a story. There was a man who lived in Jerusalem, and he worked in Jerusalem. He lived in Jericho, which was quite a long way, and it was down a deep valley. And this man was going home when suddenly a gang of thieves and robbers attacked him. They beat him up. They took almost all his clothes from him, and they left him almost dead. If the man had stayed there like that, he would have died. However, there's hope for him because somebody is coming down the road also from Jerusalem to Jericho. Here he is. He's a very important man. He was a priest from the temple. He had been in the temple worshipping God and helping other people to worship God. And he saw this man lying there by the side of the road. And he thought to himself, I should help him. I'm sure that's what God would want me to do. But if I stay around here too long, the same thing might happen to me. So I better not do anything just now. Anyway, there's one of my friends, one of the temple workers. He's coming after me. Perhaps he'll do something. Yes, I'm sure he will. Shortly after that, of course, this temple worker came along and he went right across to where this poor man was lying. And he thought to himself, I ought to do something about this. This man's nearly dead. But my friend, the priest, he's more important than me and he didn't do anything. So, well, maybe it's not my responsibility to do something. After all, I don't know who he is. And he walked by and did nothing. Well, don't worry because there's a sound of donkeys' hooves on the road behind. And here's another man coming down. But there's a problem, you see, because the man who had been attacked was a Jew. But the man who was coming down the road with his donkey was a Samaritan. And the Jews hated the Samaritans. They thought of them as dogs. They were glad that they were not Samaritans. They wanted nothing to do with them. But this man came, this Samaritan, and he saw that this man lying there nearly dead was a Jew. Now he could have said, I want nothing to do with him. After all, the Jews don't like us and they wouldn't help us. But I must do something because he's in need. So he got off his own donkey and he put this man on his donkey and he walked to the next village with him. And at the next village there was an inn, a place where people could stay. And he said to the innkeeper, I want you to look after this man. I want you to nurse him and help him. I've tried to do my best by patching up his wounds, but he needs care and food. And would you please do that for me? I'm coming back this way soon. I'll give you this money and that will partly pay for your services. But if it costs any more, I'm quite willing to pay when I come back. Now, said Jesus to the man who asked him how he would get into the kingdom of God, into the kingdom of heaven. Now, said Jesus, here's the question. This is what the story is about. Which of these three do you think was a neighbour? You see, right at the very beginning, when Jesus said, love God with all your heart and love your neighbour as yourself, the man thought, well, that's a hard thing to do. Oh, I wonder if I can get out of this. I'll ask Jesus who my neighbour is. But Jesus said to this man, which one do you think was neighbour to him? I'm not bothered about who you think your neighbour is and who isn't, but I'm more bothered about whether you help those people that you come across in need. Who do you think was neighbour to him? Was it the priest who went by first and did nothing? Was it the temple servant who went by next and did nothing? Or was it the man who cared for him and loved him? Well, of course, you know what the answer is, don't you? It's obvious. And I think the man to whom Jesus was telling the story knew what the answer was as well. So then Jesus said to the man, go and do likewise. So if you know of anybody who is in need of your care and your attention, never mind whether they live next door to you and, a proper neighbour. Well, Jesus says, you go and help them like that man did. Go and do likewise. Love your neighbour as much as you love yourself. Can you think of somebody who could do with your help? Well, go and do that for them. That's a good story, isn't it?